This is what, everybody clamors over, the best fighting the best. This is what my dad used to talk to me about when he used to watch fights 40 years ago when you had Tommy Hearns and Ray Leonard and all the greats, the four kings. Hey, long time no see.
Yes, sir.
Welcome.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Doing all right?
Yes, sir.
Everything that I, been through, especially in the last few years, they can make a movie out of my career.
After 3 years away and a career-threatening retina surgery, Errol Spence Jr. is making his long-awaited return and is locked in camp to fight Tim Tszyu as the man standing in his way.
Definitely, a long road to get to this point. Stuff takes time. My dad always say, man, he's so stubborn. Yeah, I'm stubborn, but my stubbornness, that's what got me here.
Well, if you want to, we can do outside. It's cool out here. The humidity in there is just too much. It's thick, too. I meditate because I'm practicing Buddhist. My meditation is that I am everything that he needs me to be.
He's been there since day one. I got to where I'm at because of his vision. It was not only my hard work and determination, but it was his hard work and determination.
Errol Spence is back training under Derrick James, the man who knows him best, and together, they're working to unlock his full potential.
I think that throughout the fight, I think he had a great game plan. He's really more athletic than he is boxing skill. So, he's very athletic, very fast, very quick twitch muscles.
That's why he's the best coach in boxing, because he don't try to pamper me. When I look like, he gonna say I look like, I don't care how big you get, ain't nobody get pampered, and he gonna critique me like I'm a grown man. Appreciate you, man.
No doubt.
Real. You know what I'm saying? That's what we do.
That's how my best coach has been.
Social media people telling you how great you are. You ain't got nobody telling you, hey, tighten up. That's how you fall off. That's how you get up there and draw down.
Even Anthony Joshua pushed him every day in the same camp. When two elite fighters share the same corner, something dangerous is being built, and Tim Tszyu is about to feel it.
With what Derrick does here, it's not only the physical, it's the fundamentals. And also, bro, this here gets pushed. So I think that's why I see, like, if you look at Errol, you can push. I'm rooting for Errol. In this fight, but good luck to both men.
I expect him to have nothing but destruction on his mind. And that's the same thing for me. I have nothing but destruction on my mind and basically go out, seek and destroy.
Spence's return isn't about proving anything to anyone else. It's purely self-driven. 3 years after a painful loss, he stepped back, poured into his family, and found peace. And now he's back on his own terms, fueled by nothing but his own fire.
Just to step away from the sport, and just experience my family and just, be in the moment and just enjoying life. And, you can't beat that. That was a bad loss. I'm definitely looking to show up and make a way better fight than that last fight that I had 3 years ago. And I'm going to definitely do that. And I think that's a great quote from Ali. But, this one's more about myself than anybody else.
Cutting straight to what defines Errol Spence, beyond just ability, Caleb admires that coming back straight into a fight with Tim Tszyu, rather than taking a safer route, proves that the fearlessness and ambition that built his reputation never left.
And one thing I love about Errol Spence is he's never been scared to chase a big fight.
Never.
And one thing he's always said, he's always like, I don't really need a tune-up fight. And I think maybe the only reason that he spoke about him in the tone that he did is not because of the one loss, but maybe because of the time away from the ring and with him being, not a spring chicken anymore. You know what I mean? So,
But with that being said, I'm a big Errol Spence fan, and I'm one, a lot of people felt that he was finished after the Bud fight. I totally disagree with that. I think sometimes a fighter, first off, he was reigning at 147, right?
Putting things into perspective, Caleb believes the break may have actually unlocked a sharper, more dangerous version of Spence than the one fans remember.
Errol, are we forgetting everything he did at 147?
I'm not.
And maybe some guys need a little break, right, away from the sport. I always bring up Mikey Garcia because I think that his second run was his best run, you know, when he came back after that long layoff. I don't know, it was 2-3 years. So maybe we might see a great version of Errol after this break.
Absolutely, and I mean, obviously right, but he clearly believes in himself for him to come back off the time away from the ring and fight somebody like Tim Tszyu.
No tune-up.
Even with that loss that Tim Tszyu had against the Russian cat. I'm saying that guy's a bad boy too, right?
Oh, he's
you know, he
vicious.
got caught early in that fight and wasn't able to gather his bearings soon enough.
That surprised the heck out of him.
Meanwhile, Errol Spence isn't coming back just to show face, he's coming back to make a statement. With his return set for July 26th, Spence is fully locked in and committed to putting on a performance that erases the memory of his last outing. Not for the doubters, not for the critics, but because the standard he holds himself to demands nothing less.
You know, fickle, you're gonna have people going back and forth, but hopefully, you know, my true fans will see that come July 26th that Errol Spence is back and I'm putting on a great show.
One look at the recent pad footage, and Tim Tszyu had already formed his opinion, and rather than stay quiet, he said exactly what was on his mind, holding nothing back about where he believes Errol Spence currently stands.
He should probably take a tune-up before me, just so that he's a little bit more, I don't know, conditioned, you know? I think he's in for a bit of a shock, if it happens.
See the footage of him on the pads?
Nah, he looks fat, yeah? Yeah.
So Spence,
Well, he's been on holidays, man. The guy's been enjoying himself, you know, so I don't blame him. I'd be eating ice cream as well non-stop if I was him.
Now, one thing is clear, beating Tim Tszyu is no easy task, and even Derrick James knows exactly what it takes. James admitted he hasn't been closely following the matchup, with his full focus locked on his own camp right now. But when pressed, he made one thing plain. To get past Tszyu, a fighter must be able to move their feet and box smartly, or risk getting banged out inside that ring.
Hey man, no thoughts about it. I don't know anything about it. I'm not even thinking about it. I mean, I really, it's just like another fight. I'm not keeping up with it. The judge gonna do what he do. You know, hopefully he's successful at what he's doing. But you know, other than that, man.
You think Tim Tszyu has a favor because of the 3-year layoff from the Errol Spence had? Maybe?
I don't really know. I mean, I don't really know. I think Errol is gonna do whatever he's gonna do, but I think that, you know, Tim Tszyu's a very tough fighter, and you gotta be able to use your feet. And you gotta be able to box him, because if not, he's gonna try to bang you out. So you know, you just gotta be prepared for that.
As the countdown to July 26th begins, Terence Crawford, the undisputed welterweight champion, took to social media to show respect and support to Errol Spence, telling him, "Good seeing you back out there. Get to it. I'll be there supporting. When the man who beat you is rooting for your comeback, you know the respect in the sport is real." For Errol Spence, this isn't just a fight, it's his chance to rewrite the final chapter of his legacy. To understand where this fight is headed, Sean Potter, having dissected Spence's showing against Crawford and weighted against the kind of fighter Tim Tszyu actually is, argues that as analysts rush to use that performance as a measuring stick, he insists that Crawford's elite tactical brilliance makes it a deeply flawed benchmark.
I just think we don't have enough evidence to really, you know,
go off of, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I think you're looking at him being off balance against a fighter that with Terence,
anybody off
the kid really is special. Like the dude really is special, and I know
he's not Dennis Nurkic.
I know these things about him. Like he has the ability to see your balance and make you move. You know what I mean? Like he's really like one of those master kung fu artists, but in boxing. You know what I mean? So he's a masterful boxer. You know?
Yeah.
And so those are the kind of things that we're looking at Tim Tszyu that doesn't have that kind of style.
Building on that point, Sean Potter, having traced Spence's entire resume and the types of opponents that built his fearsome reputation, the uncomfortable truth, Potter contends, is that Spence built his boogeyman status largely against fighters who stood right in front of him, couldn't move, and were willing to exchange, and Tszyu, by that measure, fits that mold more naturally than Crawford ever did.
Tim Tszyu has more of the style that made Errol Spence Jr. the boogeyman. Errol Spence was fighting guys that couldn't move. Errol Spence was fighting guys that weren't fast. Errol Spence was fighting. Errol Spence could move. Oh no! I mean, that fight was great until it ended. That fight was amazing until it ended. Yeah. It was a great fight until it ended. And again, a fighter that challenged him. But outside of him, outside of me,
yourself,
Lamont Peterson still right there in front of him.
Yeah.
Everybody else,
Stanny.
Everybody else were fighters that plot, that stand right in front of you, that want to exchange and want to catch you. And you know, to me, this is a perfect fight for both guys.
While Sean Zittel, having watched Errol Spence operate at his most dominant and studied the very blueprint Bulmarmac used when preparing for Terence Crawford, warns that as the Tim Tszyu fight draws closer, he is convinced that the jab alone could be the weapon that unravels Tszyu entirely. The danger, Zettel stresses, is that Spence doesn't simply throw the jab, he lives behind it, builds confidence off it, and uses it to systematically break down everything an opponent tries to establish.
And the main problem for Tim Tszyu against Errol is going to be that jab. What does he do against that busy, constant jab
Errol
from on Errol's
jab,
side?
right?
Yeah, Errol just keeping that jab in his face. I mean, when Bulmarmac prepared for Terence, he said that's the #1 thing we got to take away from him. He fights off his jab. He gets confidence off his jab. He builds off his jab. He dominates you off the jab. So take the jab away, and we got the fight won.
Right.
Tim Tszyu is not Terence Crawford. So I don't know how he deals with that jab. Again, I think Errol's bigger than him. He's at his best busier than him.
Adding fuel to an already burning fire, Rolly Romero, having made no secret of his willingness to court controversy and insert himself into the biggest conversations in the sport, backed Tim Tszyu to get the job done first and took direct shots at Errol Spence in the process. This isn't just ringside commentary, it's a calculated move to plant himself firmly on the radar of Spence's comeback path before the dust has even settled.
Just in regards to the weight for this fight, Tim.
Oh yeah, 158. I can't complain.
The fight's at 58.
158.
Can I get the leftovers?
Of course.
Tim.
Of course. For your spot.
Adding his voice to the debate, Manny Pacquiao said the most important thing happening in Tim Tszyu's camp right now has nothing to do with Errol Spence. Manny Pacquiao believes that the fights leading up to this bout are less about the opponent across the ring and more about Tszyu building real chemistry with his new trainer Pedro Diaz, because when that connection clicks, everything else falls into place.
I think with Tim, the focus is more continuing to build chemistry with Pedro Diaz. I think so. I think you stay focused just by the fact that this is only your second camp with Pedro, and the reason you're taking these fights before the Spence fight is to build chemistry with your trainer. So I don't even think you overthink it. I think it's more so about the dynamic with the trainer and bringing things together. And then the opponent in front of him is obviously the opponent in front of him. You don't overthink about the opponent. You focus on the chemistry you have with the trainer and the things you're improving on, the things you want to work on.
Shifting focus to the other side of the ring, Manny Pacquiao believes the fights leading up to the Spence bout are less about the opponent in front of Tszyu and more about sharpening, because the real battle, he argues, isn't physical, it's psychological. With Tszyu's conditioning already in a solid place, Manny Pacquiao insists the true focus must be on building the mental confidence that will define everything when the lights are brightest against Spence.
What do you want to see from Tim Tszyu? What changes do you want to see?
I don't necessarily have to see changes in Tszyu. Listen, Fundora was a tough situation. He was put in a tough spot. I would like to see not necessarily changes, but more so just the confidence of the Tim Tszyu that I saw on the way up. The same confidence. Obviously, there's going to be technical changes because Pedro is a very, very technical trainer. So there may be some things that you may see a little bit different on the part of Tim that I think can improve him. But I think from a psychological standpoint, I think that's where Tim is. You're watching for Tim. I don't think physically you worry about Tim. I think you worry about Tim psychologically coming off the run that he's had, and this could be 2 fights on the trot.
And when the conversation shifted to Errol Spence, Manny Pacquiao didn't shy away. He had some pointed observations about the former champion that could completely reshape how people are looking at this fight. On one side, there are questions surrounding Spence's lengthy inactivity and what that truly means for his return. And on the other, there's a clear roadmap Manny Pacquiao believes Tszyu must follow before stepping into the ring with him. The details of what he said cut straight to the heart of this matchup, and it's exactly the kind of insight that changes the narrative.
You would think that his confidence would be at a much better place going into the Spence fight, who himself is not active at all. Spence is off this huge layoff, and he just so. I find it so random, and this guy just takes these long layoffs and then just comes back and fights and never gets a turn.
With the biggest night of both men's careers on the horizon, Errol Spence has seen how quickly fans can turn. and he understands it better than most. He acknowledges that sports fans are fickle by nature. One bad moment and the crowd turned around, whether it's a boxer, a footballer missing a penalty, or anyone else in the spotlight, but Spence refuses to hold it against them. For many people, sport isn't just entertainment, it's an outlet, a passion, sometimes their entire life, and Spence respects that reality too much to ever take the noise personally.
Cause like I said, I'm not doing it for everybody else's approval. I'm doing it for myself.
Yeah.
You know, I gotta live with myself at the end of the day. So, you know, I mean, fans gonna be fickle. I mean, you gotta realize a lot of people come home from work and things, and you know, sports is their let out. So, I mean, they're gonna be fickle. For some people, you know, sports, you know, is their life. You know, that's all they do. They watch. So, I can't knock them for being fickle because they fickle like that in every sport.
Stepping back to frame the bigger picture, Bernie the boxer, having watched Spence navigate one of the most turbulent periods of his career, from the Crawford defeat to a 3-year absence from the ring, warns that as this comeback fight approaches, he is convinced this represents one of the most significant tests Errol Spence Jr. has ever faced, not just physically, but as a statement of who he still is.
You know, it's a good little fight for him. Man been out 3 years. Tim Tszyu been active. Former world champion. You know, he ain't going to get nobody we don't know. I can't do nothing but salute him, take my hat off for him, and see how he go to work. I think he gonna be fine. He look like he's in good shape. You know, he ain't look all out of shape. He look like, you know, he look good. You know, he look mentally all there. And I mean, shit, them little 3 years, like I said, I told him as soon as it happened, I said, okay, he had other stuff going on. You know, other stuff going on. That was a 5-year accumulation, a lot of stuff he did going through the...
Furthermore, Bernie contends that it reframes the entire conversation around Spence, because if those fighters could rebuild and recapture their greatness after moments of apparent ruin, then writing Spence off after one bad night and 3 years away becomes a far harder argument to sustain. For Bernie, this isn't just blind loyalty to a fighter. He believes it's a historically grounded case that the greatest versions of great fighters have a habit of showing up precisely when the world has stopped expecting them.
You know, fighters that came back from losses plenty of times, took beatings and came back plenty of times. You know, Roberto Duran got knocked out by Tommy Hearns, you know, I'm trying to say clean out on his face, and came back and won the super middleweight championship. So, I mean, fighters ain't counted out just like that. You know, he took it, gave himself time to rest. So, you know, we gonna see.
Errol Spence versus Tim Tszyu. This is the kind of fight boxing fans love to debate because it feels like a true crossroads moment in the sport. On one side, you've got Errol Spence, a proven champion, an elite technician, a fighter who's already been through wars and faced some of the very best in boxing. Even after setbacks, Spence is still dangerous, still experienced, and still capable of reminding everybody exactly who he is. And on the other side, you've got Tim Tszyu, younger, hungry, aggressive, confident, and looking to score the biggest win of his career. Or is this the official arrival of Tim Tszyu as one of boxing's new elite fighters? And if this fight goes deep into the championship rounds, who's really going to want it more? Drop all your predictions in the comments, because this is definitely one of those fights people are going to be talking about long after it's over. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any future boxing news, fight breakdowns, predictions, and post-fight reactions right here on the channel. Thank you all for watching.